March 11th meeting. Approval of minutes. You see the minutes before you. Are there any corrections, clarifications, additions, revisions? Can the minutes be approved as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion been made to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Treasurer's report. Before you'll see our treasurer's report. Right now, total cash available in general funds is $229,835.06. Cash in reserve account $76,535.71. Total cash available in fire tax fund is $3,217.99. Total cash available sewer fund account $287,597.80. Total cash available in liquid fuel account $262,439.25. Are there any questions about the treasurer's report? Can the report be accepted as presented?
We accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Before you see consolidated payment of bills as of March 11th from the general fund is $48,052.95. Sewer fund $3,328.72. Liquid fuels fund $5,833.08. Fire tax fund $413.40. Are there any questions about payment of the bills, or can the bills be paid as presented?
I move we pay the bills as presented.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded to pay the bills as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Public hearing. Chief Jordan, are you here to address council on anything?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening. Chris Jordan, Deputy Fire Chief for the Exeter Township Volunteer Fire Department. A few weeks ago, I had discussed the new legislation that was passed by Pennsylvania in regards to the volunteer tax credit program. On February 22nd, Exeter Township voted to revise their current ordinance to take the volunteer tax credit from 15% to 50%. So from 15 to 50, 50, sorry, my math is sometimes hurts my speaking. I did talk to Exeter Township, and I believe they sent a copy of the revised ordinance to Manager Linebach. So I'm here this evening to again request council look at their current ordinance and consider revising that ordinance to match the Exeter Township ordinance. Exeter Township, I did talk to them. They are going to be revising not revising it, but revisiting the ordinance on a yearly basis to see how it goes. And it will be something that we talk to them about on an ongoing basis to make sure that it is performing the way they want it to, and also to see if it needs to be increased, decreased, wherever it needs to go. That's it.
Chris, do you know whether or not Exeter has anything in there where at a year it requires a vote to extend it?
I don't believe so.
They do not.
Yeah.
They did make by resolution that they can change by resolution the percentages.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure it's probably.
Well, like
easier.
50% could be lower, could be higher, but they're not.
Without having to advertise.
Right, it's probably an easier process. I would
Right,
guess.
it's a process issue.
Okay.
As an ancillary question, are you communicating with Exeter Township School District also for volunteer tax
Yes,
release?
so
You
we've
can
already.
sort of update us on this, and once again, it has nothing to do with us, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, for sure. We've already presented to them, as I think I don't know if I stated that, if we presented after your meeting or before, but we did present to them. They were receptive to it. Their budget process, though, is much different than, it's on a different cycle than the municipalities.
Their fiscal year is different.
Yeah, their fiscal year is different. So what they're doing is, they're going to be meeting with us starting in April, hopefully in person, where we can meet with them and discuss what the program structure would look like. my gut feeling is, and based on the feedback I've gotten from them at the presentation, they're gonna be doing something. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, and I won't have that answer until, probably right around their budget time. I think their budgets need to be approved around June, so it'll probably be around that time.
Any other questions, council?
Where are we currently at? 20%?
15.
15.
It matches, it emulated what Exeter did the first time.
I know we had that discussion a few months ago. Take a wait and see what they had done. And I noticed in the news brief that they had adopted the 50%. I think it's certainly a good incentive for you guys. I think it's much deserved. I don't know what the budget impact would be on us.
I think in general, right now, we only have possible 3 candidates. Total amount, I think, is probably less than $2,000.
I will say, I don't even know if it would be that much, but I do know, I will tell you that we advertised, our first advertisement on the Exeter, on our Facebook page about the new ordinance. We did get 4 applications, from that advertisement, so that's obviously one of the reasons why it's there.
Now they have to go through a vetting process in order to get to a certain point where they would qualify for that tax break, right?
Correct.
Can't
Yeah,
just
there's-
join and say,
Oh, yeah.
correct, right?
Yes, so you have to be a member for at least 6 months. You also have to be, active participating on a weekly or even on a monthly basis. We prefer a weekly basis. And also, if you're a community member, and you don't want to be a firefighter, but you still want to help and with the finances or some other
Support group, right?
fire prevention or things like that, you have to put in a minimum of 200 hours a year, which is pretty significant.
Again, I think it's a nice incentive. I think it's a nice kind of, if you want to call it a reward, for everything that, you guys do. I think it's almost kind of a no-brainer, but we have to be mindful of the impact on the budget. And if that's the about number. How many individuals in the borough? 2 or 3?
Right now,
candidates,
there's
3
three,
who are eligible.
there's 3 who are eligible. I think there's a total of 5 altogether, but 2 of them have not been active. Hopefully that number increases though, for.
Part of the
that's
incentive, part of the
the
incentive
goal.
process, right?
Yeah, I think the overall budget impact for Exeter, just to give you an idea, now I know their tax rate's a little bit lower, but it's about, we're estimating to be between $3,000 and $4,000 on about 18 to 20 people.
Are you aware of Exeter's ordinance? Is it retro?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And that's just on the real estate portion.
Right, yes. Yeah, school district hasn't touched it yet.
Well, and there's also an
Is
earned
he-
income tax portion.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's total.
That's already
budget impact.
enacted, isn't it? Yeah, I thought so.
Any other questions? I think we're in a process of moving our ordinance change to doing that. So, and I think we had talked in general that we knew we had the 15% in. We talked about moving to 50%, and we haven't voted on that yet. And then I think we also talked about it being retro too. So I think we're just in the middle of the process to get it moved forward. So.
Okay, when we say we're in the middle, what needs to be done at this point?
Well, I will take credit or criticism for that, because I went back and looked, and we spent over $3,000 or getting the first ordinance done in order to distribute less than $2,000, which I consider bad business. And so I made some comments back to our administration that I did not want to see us spend that much money moving this one forward. So I think there's been some adjustments on that. So.
Adjustments on the process?
It's in the process. It's
Yeah.
in the process of being written.
But the same token, if we do this, we're able to change it with a resolution, which doesn't have all that cost burden
Right,
on
we
it,
have,
Right,
then it,
but
we
just
won't have this issue from 15 to 50 or whatever.
well, we will have it from
The- the
whatever.
whatever we
change
do
it
again
is.
is probably good. Yeah, I didn't want to spend another $3,000 changing it this time. So it helps understanding what Exeter had in theirs. We'll mimic that.
Let me
So,
suggest it, John, would doing a resolution require, because of the nature of it being advertised?
Resolutions are generally not
Not.
advertised.
Unless they,
But we need
there's a
to,
little caveat in there
Yeah, and
about,
there are certain resolutions such as the Local Government Unit Debt Act that have to be advertised. As far as a tax credit, to adopt a tax, it has to be advertised in a certain way. For a tax credit, I'm not, I've never had to look at this before. It would not be a tax burden in a way that would require the same kind of public notice, but it is conceivable there would be public comment for and against that if it were challenged would require notice, could become require notice. I mean, we're talking
yeah,
about
I think a
one
conservative approach is for us to advertise
Yeah.
it, make it part of the resolution that can be changed, and things like
It
that.
it could be, it could be amended by resolution.
Right. So,
Just educate us a little bit, why did it cost $3,000?
by the time we get our attorneys and other people involved, that's how much it
the
costs right
number,
now.
till it was reviewed back and forth and established, and it was in the
But
process
if
of
we
being
copy the
established.
Exeter's, a lot of that,
Right, yeah.
Right.
Right, because, and it makes sense to make it uniform with Exeter's. I mean, I asked Susan about that because it was a few years ago. I had no idea that, but it did take some time, as I recall, there were drafts back and forth.
No, we're not criticizing what it took, I just didn't want to move forward in the same path.
No, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't. I mean, it's especially where you want to make it uniform and someone else has done the work. Don't
At
tell
this
them,
point,
don't tell them.
Other than adding in the fact that it can change by resolution, it should be a whole lot different than the first one we adopted.
Well, Joan in the beginning did a lot of background,
There was,
Check
I remember that,
so
yeah.
that legwork has to be done. to your
Right, it's
point,
all,
right?
right, it's
Is
all
that what you were
done.
getting at, Dave?
It's.
No,
not-
Dave's trying to understand what's the process now, how hard is it gonna be to go forward? Correct.
No, I'm just saying that it shouldn't be that much more, it should be much more difficult now because we already have an ordinance in place.
We are not following the established protocol because we have not been doing it as a credit.
Okay,
We're doing it as a reimbursement.
Reimbursement from the office.
okay.
So it is a different protocol
So-
setup, and that,
So
We wanna
the ordinance
incorporate-
is different than the first go around.
right, we want to incorporate that into the ordinance, and the ordinance is about a third of the way there.
Okay.
We had other issues that popped up that stopped me from proceeding on that one.
And when is it retro?
It would be retro
For
to
last year.
2020.
Chief, you got any
Is
questions for us?
there anything you need from me to ensure, like, I want to make sure, I don't want to come to every meeting, but I want to make sure that the process is moving along, so I guess
We can send you the minutes.
would you want to, I mean,
They're online.
like, do you want me present at the meeting when you vote to answer any questions? Or is there anything-
I think because we already established the 50%, it's not that big of an issue to us.
Okay.
You know, it'll be, the only other change probably be between 15 to 50 or 100. And, so, and then I think that's just where we go forward from there, so.
All right, well, if there are any other questions, obviously, you can reach out to me, I can attend the meeting, whatever you need. I do have one other question while I am here.
Sure.
The contract for the fire service, do you know where we are on that? Is this
This is
year?
last year.
This is the last year?
Yeah.
So we would need to make another proposal at the end of this year, correct?
Oh, no, not at the end.
September of this year, for your budget.
We go before that.
Yeah, we usually budget October, September,
Yeah.
so it's gonna probably be,
I think we took it out in July.
Yeah.
Because there's new leadership at Mount Penn, I'm sure that, I've already talked to them, but I'm sure that they're on the same wavelength, but I want to make sure that that's all buttoned up before we,
probably in your mind, in July, you'll probably see something from us.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get it to you earlier, is that okay?
No problem with that.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that. Accept bids, proposals with the proposals up.
All right, if I start
Hold
working
on.
on it now, I'll
Yeah.
be ready.
Well, yeah, you have to know, you don't know what we're gonna say in the proposal yet.
Right, I understand. All right. Okay, I knew it was, I couldn't remember if it was year 2 or year 3, but I wanted to make sure while I was here.
Any other questions, Council? Chief? Outstanding.
Okay.
Appreciate
thank
your
you,
time.
everybody. Have a great night.
You too. Drive safely. Report from Borough Engineer, Ty.
Okay, I only have one item on the list, and that's only because it came in today from. We received another letter, or another plan from, for the, Ring Real Estate property. Almost there. Not quite, but they're almost there. I reviewed it, I only did a cursory review, and I went through my letter to determine what needs to be done. They provided the pedestrian pathway from the upper parking lot to the building, and that can be seen on.
Proposed stairs,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
so that's been addressed. The lighting has been provided, you see that on the left sheet. I just need to verify that the lighting specs are met. I know that I'm gonna want to see that light pole put on a concrete base, so that if it ever gets hit, it's not enough to pull over. So I'm gonna be looking for at least a 24-inch, those.
Like a sonotube or,
Yes.
yeah. And is it a minimum height, like 24 inches or anything?
Yeah, I'm
That's-
sure building codes gonna have some say in that.
I don't think they do say that, a height.
Well, our ordinance may have something in it, I'll have to
Yeah.
verify it there, and I'll also have to verify the height of the pole that they're proposing. Make sure that it meets that requirement as well. When I say it's almost there, the proposed parking provided is 37 parking spaces. We need 38, so they're shy one parking space. So I'm gonna have to get back to the Rob Payne from Berks Surveyor, letting know that we need one additional parking. I think what they did is they counted the additional handicap parking space they provided, but your ordinance does not allow the handicap parking to be included as required parking.
In that northeast sector, you have a parking lot there, with a proposed light pole.
Yeah.
Is there any space in there to add additional space and relocate the pole? A little bit further east?
That's what they're gonna have to determine, because, if you look at the second page, you'll see where their parking is at. And that's pretty tight,
Yeah.
so they're just gonna have to figure out what they're gonna, where to put that extra parking space. Obviously, when this plan goes to be constructed, we're gonna need to take a look at the retaining wall that they provide and the way they have the parking to make sure that there's no way someone can jump the wall and end up 8 feet down below. So that's something that will have to be looked at in the future, and obviously the stormwater underground system has to be looked at.
On the second page, to the left of the existing building, towards the uphill side, they have a possible future storm area. Is that like for a retention pond or detention pond or something?
Yes.
So they could always sort of move that or manipulate that and get another parking space up there. They could always put in something buried even,
Yeah.
They have options to get those.
They have options, but they haven't addressed
Right.
that comment. So.
Is there anything that says what percentage of the property can be impervious surface, or you can't pave the whole thing? can they?
No, they can't, and to be honest with you, I'll have to take a look at that and see what the requirement is. But they do have a impervious area requirement. And I'm looking at the first page.
It looks like an awful lot of it's changed.
They're allowed 30% paved area, and they're at one, in the proposed layout, they're at 28.5%. So they're approaching that 30%.
The total covered area, though, including the buildings and everything.
Pre-existing.
So you disturb a sloped area, which are typically you can't disturb, does that become part of the total area then of possible? So for instance, you have a steep slope, you're not supposed to be doing anything on there. They're gonna be putting some features in there, so they're gonna have to ask for a variance or something there.
Well,
So does that increase then their area where you get your, impervious area, or does the getting relief from the steep slope give them more area to work with impervious?
well, actually, it was determined through this land development that since these were man-made slopes, that, that's not an issue.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cutting to put the building in and things like that, so it was determined at that time that it didn't really apply to this project.
Any other questions from council? Any other thing to report?
I have one other item on there. Now, one thing that's been discussed is about the sidewalk. They put the note on the plan that sidewalk has to be constructed within 3 years of plan approval. I'm recommending to the board that we have the applicant put in escrow the cost of the construction of the sidewalk, so that if they don't put the sidewalk in 3 years, you'll have the escrow in place so that you would be able to do that.
And I agree with that. If it is a public improvement and there should be financial security posted for it, like any other public improvement in this case. I mean, I'm sorry he has to be punished for what others have done, but that's
That's the way of the world.
That is the way of the world. And, when we have financial security for every other deferred improvement, and this is just one more.
So typically, let's say that we decide they need an escrow of $10,000. Do they just have to put up a minimum of 1,000 to get a bond or something like that? They have to put a deposit in a bank and show it's, a bank, irreversible bank note, or what do they
It's
do?
really up to them how they want to do it. They can do a letter of credit, they can do an escrow check. But the letter of credit will be for the full amount.
Right.
And
Right.
they will have to pay whatever the fee is per year for that letter of credit.
Right, generally what we do, the letter of credit is considered the best financial security for an improvements agreement. And as improvements are made and completed, that amount of the escrow or the letter of credit is
Reduced.
It's
Right.
reduced. And I think in this case, and again, what we do is we have the letter of credit with an evergreen clause in it that it does not expire unless notice is given to the borough. It's there for our benefit. So it gives them incentive, it allows them to defer the improvement, but it gives them incentive to complete it so that they don't have to keep paying fees and they don't have to keep the letter of credit in place. So I think that that Ty is correct. It makes good sense to have financial security for the completion of sidewalks, just like you have financial security for your stormwater improvements and other similar improvements. I mean, this is a truly public improvement.
And that's very common, like on big land developments where you have a big housing development or something like that, where they set aside escrow account and it kept coming in almost on a monthly basis. They want the escrow reduced this much because they show where they've made these already improvements. And then you sort of have to agree on the percentages or, stuff like that with the dollar amount. So it's not outlandish to do that. And it's sort of better protection for us because, we have gotten burned now trying to
Right.
let that cost spread over 3 years. It's just not working.
And in this case, is it really that different than requiring that escrow for the streets and the completion
Right.
of streets and subdivisions? It's not, it just is not that different.
Yeah.
No, it's a pretty, that's the undertaking because the lay of the land out front there has that steep slope coming down the curve. Right?
Yes, it's like Goodwill.
Yeah, like Goodwill, right? And would that require them to put an easement there at I don't know, from Chestnut Street for concrete driveway for a walk and stuff like that?
They're only putting the improvements on their property. They're not going across the road.
They have no requirements after that.
No. The improvement will include the material for the concrete, installation and the labor costs. A contingency of 10% added to the cost, a 6% inspection fee, and 3% administrative and legal fees.
And it has to be ADA compliant, right?
Is there a document or anything that we should generate that says this is the borough's position on this issue? Is there any sort of improvement like this that is being delayed in the requirements?
The improvements agreement, I mean, that would be included in the improvements agreement. Or
But you're talking with him. I'm talking of in general. I don't want it to
Oh, you're
look
talking
as though we're picking on him and then the next guy comes along and we don't do it.
Well, it's in the ordinance, first of all. And second of all, we
Okay.
can look at any number of cases, including Goodwill, where we required the installation of sidewalks, and council has stated,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, that's true.
it's not the question of requiring sidewalks. It's the question, the requirement of a letter, putting money up front.
But, well, and I
We
think
didn't do that with Goodwill. We didn't do that in
Right.
other ones, which I'm not
It's
fighting
un-
against
it's
it.
It's the new, I mean, what it comes down to is that
There's no
we've had
estimate there.
a bad experience with it. It is now the new policy that if you want to defer sidewalk, that's fine, but you're gonna have to post financial
When you
security.
say it's a new policy, where is that written down?
Well, it's not a new policy, but it's almost like on a conditional use. We could just make any conditions we want.
You can make-
We could say we want double the number of trees that were required in our ordinance, and they either accept that or they don't.
Well,
So we
we're
don't
just
have-
asking
yeah.
for something,
Right,
something that's consistent and generic.
right.
It's not specific to this time, but from this time forth forevermore, we will require financial security.
Well, it's required right now in the ordinance. It's whether we've actually applied it to small pieces of sidewalk or not. That's where really it amounts to. It certainly applied to roads, because it's a higher dollar value.
And normally we look at public improvements and in under the undeveloped plan. The purpose of this plan was to make sure that the parking was provided and so that they could to do what they want to do. There was no public improvements or any improvements proposed. So, but with the fact that we've had issues with sidewalks being constructed, I'm just throwing it out there that maybe the board wants to.
If you like to see,
I totally support
Yeah.
doing it.
we can just make a resolution tonight from this point forward on all these public improvements, including sidewalks. We're gonna require an escrow, because we already do it for roads. So if you want to make a motion for that, it'll be,
I don't think there's any reason to, because the MPC provides for financial security for improvements. So it's a statement, all it would be is a statement of the law. It's just simply, if you're gonna require it, it's something the MPC allows. And we're applying it in this case because of the length of the sidewalk and the request for deferral. I don't think a resolution is necessarily a good idea, because there might be other cases where it's not necessary for some reason. It's not found to be necessary. I think it finds the board unnecessarily to have a resolution in place. I think it's simply, you have to look at each one of these plans that specifically.
answerable, or you want to move forward with something else?
No, that's,
Yeah.
I just,
My
my concern was
Yeah,
somebody feeling as though you haven't done it here, you haven't done it there, you haven't done it there, you're doing it to me, and now you don't do it to this guy.
and we could say, it's just like zoning, somebody gets to put all the parking spaces and some don't. I can't help that, You play, gets it, reviewed. Anything else, Todd? Any other comments from council?
So I'm given the authorization to go in and request for that.
Yeah, I think from the discussions with council, we want all public improvements to be estimated or totalized and make that in a escrow account, including sidewalks.
Okay, then I will prepare the final letter to the applicant and let him know that with the minor changes that I'm going through tonight, to be included in the next plan. And Joan, you can let me know if there's anything that needs to be done legally, for agreements or.
Oh, there
Yeah.
will need to be an improvements agreement.
So-
And feel free to cite your letter that was discussed at council and that under the direction of council was for.
All right, because that was our question, when can I submit plans for signatures? So
All right,
that's all I have in the engineer's report, unless there's something that you saw in the report that you wanted to discuss.
we're good. Any other? Zoning officer code, anything new? Nothing new? Solicitor, got any report for us?
I have just been covered elsewhere on the agenda.
Mayor, anything to report?
Yes, we do. With the 2 warm days we've had, I've dusted off my Edelweiss cap and hope that it brings spring early.
I don't know how to do all these years.
Perhaps,
I like those.
it works. I do have a brief report for the citizens. The February Central Berks Police Report discloses nothing remarkable, which is good news. The largest category of police calls was still motor vehicle involved. Thanks to all the residents cooperating with the February snow emergency. Snow removal was accomplished with a few minor glitches. Have you noticed the installation of 6 new LED streetlights in various locations in our borough? With continued public safety in mind, there will be lamp replacement to LED planned for the future. Lastly, signs of the coronavirus pandemic lessening are not any reason to stop wearing a mask when leaving your home. Stay safe and be well. Respectfully, your mayor.
Thanks for that report, Mayor. Budget and finance, any report under committees? Nothing?
Nothing.
Streets and lights? Nothing? Planning commission? We need to reappoint Tracy Whitman under resolution 845-2021. And is there a motion for that? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to reappoint Tracy Whitman. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. We have to vote to accept the resignation of Tyler Nicewinder from the planning commission. Is there a motion?
He's now working on Wednesday evenings, so
Oh,
he's unable to attend meetings.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Tom Nicewinder from the planning commission.
motion moved and seconded to accept the resignation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 846-2021, appoint Joseph Rabbert to the planning commission.
Yeah.
I'll move the appoint Joseph Roberts.
Joe Robert lives, he's been a resident of the borough since 2010. He lives on Orchard Street down here, 3550 Orchard Street, and he works for Avon, correct?
It doesn't work Wednesday nights.
One term.
Unless there's a sewer break.
He's gonna be fulfilling the term of Greg, who was filled by Tyler. Now, so this one expires in April of 2020.
This guy's like,
2025. 2024.
There's I'm sorry.
I made a motion.
Motion been moved and seconded.
It's been seconded.
Okay, all those in favor for resolution to appoint Joseph Rabbert to the planning commission with the term that expires April 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Sanitary sewer. I'm gonna direct you to our roadmaster's report. We're under sanitary sewer. You will see that we had a sanitary sewer overflow, SSO, which means we had sewage come out of our system, out into the ground. We are heathens to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, since we violated the Clean Water Act, which they enforce for the federal government. So, in general, when you have these things, you have to report to DEP. Then they always want to know what you're going to do so this never, ever happens again. So in general, what we'll do under CoStars is Mr. Rehab has a televising unit. We will probably televise that. And it was roots coming through our old terracotta pipe. That one was never relined. Because I don't think we've ever had a root penetration on one of the relined lines in the last 15, 20 years. So we will probably televise that and also get a price to reline it. That way we'll be in, our response will be adequate to DEP. But it's, the cost of getting this stuff done is always a mob and demob charge. So once he's out here, I'm gonna ask Borough Administration to look at what other lines running through wooded areas could be televised. And it would make sense to go ahead and televise those also. And if we see anything bad about those, when they're relining this one that had the SSO, we're gonna tell them to go ahead and reline that. So I think in our budget, we have up to like $25,000. So I think we're gonna try to let administration work within that dollar amount and then come back to us next month if that's gonna be all handled within that, or we need to discuss more expenditures. But it sort of makes sense, because we have to do something, we might as well get these other ones looked at and repaired too. So, but just offhand, would you think there was maybe 7 other lines that never got relined from the project 20 years ago or
I'd
something?
say there's at least 5 or 6 areas that are in
Yeah.
wooded areas.
Now, so just for the record though, typically we'd have brought in SSM, they would want to write a spec, they want to bid it out and everything like that. It doesn't make sense when we have co-stars, because we're working within the limits of co-stars. That was supposed to be done to get rid of all the bidding and specs and things like that. Mr. Rehab's worked here many times. I don't think we've ever had an issue with work or to televise or anything like that.
No.
So unless council wants to pursue in a more antiquated method that we've used previously, we'll probably just move forward with co-stars. So.
I would add one other thing that Mr. Rehab normally charges by the day. So it was about roughly 1,000 feet that they can televise in a day. So I would look at the area that you're looking for.
So line them up.
Oh, yeah, they're already lined up.
Yeah, so have your hip pocket projects ready when he's here.
And I would recommend CoStar. We do that quite a bit in some of the other areas. And
I think it makes sense. This is not a huge probably project. We're talking $25,000. I'm telling you, we would probably spend between $5,000 and $10,000 on engineering fees if we go
We
the
trust,
traditional route.
we trust them as well. We've already had.
Yeah, they've worked here many times. So,
Won low bids.
so if council's okay with that, we'll just move forward with all that action for sanitary sewer. Trash and recycling, we getting our normal 5 to 6 calls a week from the Mascaro.
Nothing new.
Now, recreation,
No Easter egg hunt.
yeah,
And there is still debate about summer program.
Yeah, maybe council can add some insight here. I tend to think it's either gonna break good or break bad. And if it breaks good and we don't have any sort of contingency plan, like we even tried to look for someone to hire, or maybe see if someone's available, and we don't get any candidates, then we have an easy out while we don't have a program. But if it starts all trending good and we think we could have a program, I don't want to say that we didn't even try. So I'm wondering what council thinks on this.
Well, I think it's gonna be hard pressed to get anyone to say, yeah, I'll work this summer, and then, but without any guarantee. So is there a possibility if we would get 2 people lined up as playground leaders, if we can't use them as playground leaders, and we would obviously let them know this during the interview process, would there be enough work,
Like road crew work,
painting curbs, things like that, that we could at least give them the equivalent number of hours they would have worked for the playground program, doing other work around the borough? Because then at least they know they're either gonna be playground leaders or they're gonna be helping out the road crew, but at least they'll have a summer job. Because I really don't think that you're gonna get anybody interested if it's like, well, if everything goes well, you'll be running a playground program, but if it doesn't,
I totally agree, but I don't know if we could handle 2, we could probably handle 1 easy.
I say 1.
Well, the problem with that is if,
Well, maybe we just have reduced hours. We only have one leader, we have only evening or day.
The problem, you still have a problem with that though, Bob, because it's not so much the hours, it's the number of kids. And I can tell you, if we have a playground program
It's gonna be
this
packed.
summer, it's going to be packed and you're
And
just,
which-
you're gonna need to have two people on the
Yeah,
playground.
you wanna have a ratio. You wanna have
You're
a
gonna
ratio.
have to have two people on that playground.
And there's a problem because it will be packed. That there is gonna be absolutely no way to social distance them,
But
keep
what-
masks on them.
But the
Or
thing is, though,
anything
Allison, I
like
think that the thought is, if by the time we start the summer playground program, the vaccination program is expanded so much, we've reached the herd immunity, and they lift the social distancing, the masking, and all that stuff, then it doesn't matter how many kids are on the playground.
Not the kids, because the kids are not going to be vaccinated.
Well, it doesn't make a difference, the kids aren't a vector anyway, technically.
A report from the president this evening said that he had hopes that he could get vaccination for all of the adults
Right.
by the end of May.
Yeah.
They're bringing kids back
And
to
he said
school.
nothing of that.
Yeah, exactly, that's, you know.
But the kids are also social distancing and wearing masks and are in a controlled environment.
They're playing sports too.
The wrestling. Yeah, I think the issue
In
is,
different age.
are we gonna move forward with some sort of contingency plan? Or we're gonna lose the opportunity if we wait too late to make that decision?
Well, we're planning on, we're moving forward with plans. It's just that at some point, we're going to have to make a decision.
Well, and.
Exeter's
normally-
planning end of April to make their decision.
Right, and probably the May meeting, you'll have a better idea of where the vaccination program is and also where the numbers are going.
We won't have someone lined up in that sort of time then. Yeah, we can't wait till May to start advertising for.
Playground later in June.
Right.
Well, and I agree with that, but, we budget for 2 playground leaders anyway.
Correct.
So what difference does it make if we're paying them that rate to work on the playground or paying them that rate to paint curbs?
It's up to you, Roadmaster. Can you absorb 2 persons? You know, and if they don't like the job because it's not playground leader and they decide to go seek employment somewhere else, so be it.
That's what happened last
I
year.
said that is.
Did it happen last year?
Yeah, they didn't want to do that kind of.
Well, that's fine.
Well,
you know?
but
We had them lined up.
if we let
That's fine.
any candidates know ahead of time, you know, I mean, last year we really couldn't because you know, this kind of.
Solicitor, can you require someone like that to have a vaccine?
No.
It's a touchy topic because you are, as an employer.
We're gonna be responsible.
You are allowed to require vaccination.
So I think yeah.
Subject to, ADA or, under Title 755, religious
Right.
exemption. However, if you're not required to allow a direct threat, if you believe that an unvaccinated adult is a direct threat, with.
No, I'm
And if you're talking about in hiring, I mean, then.
right. I'm suggesting that if we're gonna say, hey, you might be with kids, in my opinion, we have a lot of liability with that, so I would prefer that we make a condition of employment that they're vaccinated. That for them to get the vaccine, we'll write a letter saying their employment, that makes them a child care person, we get them in the line.
We only hire 18-year-olds.
Oh, yeah, okay, past 18, they
Yeah.
would be qualified.
If they go to college, they're probably gonna want the vaccine anyway.
But are they eligible at
If-
what point to get the
If we
vaccine?
write the letter saying they are,
Okay, lifting that.
What the announcement is tonight is going to be, at least I heard this is going to be, is that all Americans, all adults, will be eligible to receive vaccine, who are over the age of 18 years old.
Now,
is council,
actually
think that's a good idea, or am I once again down, you know, an unbeaten path?
Full hatchet one.
I mean, to me, it makes sense,
If there's
right?
gonna be a playground
Yeah.
program, you're gonna have to be.
Yeah. All right,
What are the school districts?
Okay,
doing?
you're
The
rational.
school district plans to have 8 weeks of summer school.
But I'm asking, what are the school districts doing with staff is?
they can't, unless it's a labor agreement, they can't force that on them. We could certainly do that with a position that we're advertising for.
That's right, we just deem it a direct threat to not.
We also have to
for
pass
someone-
it back.
We could say, hey, you know, you've got to have first aid CPR training.
Well, we
You
do that already.
know, we could tell them they have to have it.
Yeah, I mean,
We can make whatever condition we want, is what I'm suggesting. Reasonable.
you can make reasonable conditions as far as vaccination. As I said, there are only 2 exceptions in statute. If you are going to require vaccination, that there have to be exceptions made for an individual who cannot be vaccinated or has a religious objection to it. But you also are not, and also as, you can have it as a requirement for hiring if there's a direct threat, if for a person not to be vaccinated.
So does council want to go forward, you know, with some sort of plan to look for potential hires, et cetera, and move forward on that? It's in the budget. Roadmaster will keep them at work. They can follow the trash truck on Tuesdays and recycling if we have to, you know, get that again. So who knows? Well, I don't think we need to have a resolution or anything because it's in our budget and we've talked about it before, so.
We typically don't advertise.
Well, whether you advertise or not, you just need to be able to get candidates, however that happens. Yeah, I know, sometimes you advertise, they go, what's vacation? Do I get a car? Do I get this? I understand that.
Do I get healthcare?
Yeah, do I get
Got
help?
that one already, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this gets directed to the universities and stuff like that, you know, we'll figure it out. Is that okay? And then, and of course, if you all have candidates somewhere,
Yeah, if you know of anyone.
know anybody,
have them
send the
contact-
name.
Have them contact the hall.
All right. Move forward. Emergency management report or anything.
Nothing to report.
Zoning, anything. Municipal plans, trees. I saw this deal where they were selling saplings and things like this. And so I decided I was gonna buy some trees and donate them to the borough instead of just holding something up and saying, no, this is mine. So anyway, I had some trees bought, but then my idea got hijacked by borough officials and they bought a beaucoup trees. I was gonna buy 5 trees. No, I was gonna buy 50 trees and take 5. They ended up buying like 175 trees, so I donated $25 towards the tree purchase for my 5 trees. So they ordered them, they chose them, you know, it was a big deal for people who like trees. I don't think we got the willows because you wanted to plant them down through the storm retention basins or something.
We got what was available. We were late to the game to picking up dogwoods and.
Yeah, the good trees, but
They're all natives.
oh yeah, because it's coming,
I think that we got all
the
native.
original,
Atlantis.
no,
But even maples,
We got, we bought from Musser's Forest out in western PA, which was a name given up to us by the New
New
York.
York Department of
people.
Conservation, where I was buying the trees.
And as late as we were, Lynn went through and looked through and tried to do native trees, but also that would survive where we wanted to put them. Some of them down in the open area at Penn's Grant to kind of spiff that area up, some of the dogwoods for the playground. And then up into the woods for where we're trying to establish some trees back into areas that need help.
control drainage type issues.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, originally all the trees were from New York DEC through their nurseries. They won't sell quote unquote foreign trees. And then because they didn't have the species we wanted, they gave us this other one. I don't think we picked any Japanese dogwood or anything like that. They're all native, you know, that's a big push when you talk to arborists, when you replace trees. that they should
Moses
be native.
Forest works with, the state. They do a school seedling program.
Can we have the trees come like in June so they can plant them in June? If
No.
we have 2 extra people?
No, they're coming whenever they start shipping them out, which is not yet, but at least they
Soon,
reserved
yeah.
the ones that we asked for, and we just have to start in January next year if we want to do more
Save the
seedling.
planning for the playground.
Yeah.
Do we have any of those flags with on the wires, the stiff wires where you can flag things off?
Yeah.
Warren, do you want to take some flags with you next time you're up and if you find an area, put some
Well, I
flags
can see
down.
where you're really talking about, Allison, you're talking the lower part of the woods, your pine and stuff, where the.
Where the reservoir was
Reservoir used to
closed
be and
out,
stuff,
where there
which is-
were big
yeah,
ruts
this all
and
just-
everything
Yeah.
else.
No, I mean, we
It's-
can put trees almost anywhere.
Okay,
There's definitely a way, it has to be a species that likes a wet area.
Yes, oh,
Oh,
yeah, well,
yeah,
like
yeah.
our backyard.
Okay, yeah, now there was also a question about starting them in the.
Part,
I mean,
especially the dogwoods, trying to keep them for a year in a bed to get them bigger.
Yeah,
we
you
don't
certainly wouldn't be able to put, 125 trees or whatever the number was in one of those.
No,
beds, but-
no, it's not all,
Yeah.
not all the trees. Lynn did it with full of poplars and beds up at the house, which we're gonna transplant. In this case, I think the big push was there's 25 dogwoods. And
Okay.
they're only this big.
6 to
and,
8 inches or something.
Yeah, they wanna get them
Get
so
get
that,
'em- get 'em to a decent height so they're,
yeah,
you put it out and they get broken and destroyed in no time.
yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, Mary Ann will have a bed, she has a bed right near the restrooms.
Okay.
Reserved for you, I'll
Okay.
put a sign in, so it'd be easy for watering and everything
Yeah.
else. So
Great.
we'll have a sign in there tomorrow for you.
Okay,
Let me get with you, you can buy a soil auger, and I use my impact cordless drill, and it'll give you a nice little cord hole, 6 or 8 inches deep. So if you want to do that to plant them, when you go up in the woods,
Okay.
rather than the old foot on the post hole digger and everything else. Anyway, newsletter, anything
Now,
new?
let's go back
Yeah,
to, back to trees, missed land.
Yeah,
Are you aware that Med Ed or somebody is
yes,
clear cutting under the power lines?
yes. That is their right of
Oh, I know
way.
it's there right away, so make sure.
They actually had sent us a communication that they weren't gonna be doing it till the fall of this year. So seeing them out there now was, we knew it was coming.
Mhm.
It's just that they showed up a lot sooner than what they originally said.
Is this at all coupled in with them removing the lines and stuff?
It could be, but they are actually doing it all over the place.
Because they're clear cutting, I mean.
Yeah.
they're-
Well, they
The,
had to.
the owner of Med Ed over, was it First Energy or something like that? They got beat up very badly years ago when the tree came down on the high tension line and the whole East Coast got knocked out.
These lines aren't used.
I know, but they got almost akin to a consent order where they had to go and show how they're removing vegetation by the lines. And maybe they did it to the active lines, and they, like some quirk, now they're doing it to the stockpile lines, or whatever you want to call it. So, I'm assuming they wouldn't be just spending that money because it's in their budget, they're forced to spend it that way, so.
We are not sure what
Yeah,
their
I'm
intentions
not opposed to
are.
it.
Yeah.
As long as, clean it and everything, and it sounds like they're chipping and grinding it all up, from what I can hear a quarter mile away. But, and it's healthy for a forest to have an open area for the wildlife and.
For the Atlantis to take over.
Well, that's one of the issues you gotta watch out for.
Yeah.
Well, it also is access for vehicles coming up through there when they clean it up. If you ever have fire anywhere,
Yeah.
trying to get up through there is not all that easy to do.
And I think I just read where they added 10 more counties to
Yeah.
spotted landslide quarantine, so it's like half the
Yeah, I was
counties.
gonna take today, today.
Yeah. Anything else on trees?
No, other than municipal employees, I know the newsletter is probably out, and I'm not done probably doing woods walk in 2 weeks or
The
whatever.
the newsletter is hopefully, as soon as I get done with the ordinance, the newsletter is the next thing on the agenda of things to get done. in
You wanna do a
addition.
walk in May?
I could do a walk in May, I could late May or
So
something.
we want the second Saturday in May? You want to pick one?
Is that
Third
Thursday?
Saturday?
Yeah, it has to be later, I'm gonna be away the first week of May. So.
Well,
On the 8th, and I can go on the walk instead of that.
The woods walk.
So what, so pick a Saturday, we'll just put it in there.
We'll contact you and find out what's good for you.
Yeah, it might be that they have to wear masks and stuff, you know, meet the, whatever the current requirement.
Follow
Social
CDC
distance
guidelines at that
on,
time.
So
Yeah.
you can pull the mask off like
Michael Myers
free.
mask or-
Library liaison, anything?
Still online programming, curbside pickup's really popular, so they've expanded their hours, but no open plan.
Got it. For manager, anything, report,
Not anything more than.
unfinished business statements of financial interest? Are there still some outstanding?
Almost every, I think I got almost everybody tonight. I don't think I have too many more. I think I have to get you with it.
Mine's completed.
Let me go back. Was there any questions on public works?
I'm checking that.
I just had a question with that, are there any road projects this year scheduled?
I have to go out and do surveying, but I plan on doing milling and patching in a couple intersections, like not street intersections. From Walnut Street on my progress, work area to go to, and then North Prospect, I'm gonna check out since the state's not gonna pay San Juan again.
It's been delayed again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's problematic.
This is the third year road they delayed.
So just note that Brennan is left, but we have now Jennifer Ulrich working. She arrived with her yellow hoodie, steel toe shoes, and her own chainsaw, so she should be.
I met her today.
Playground later.
No, too valuable. Firefighters relief, I'm sorry.
We already talked about that.
Okay,
You want to, or do you want to make a decision tonight on it, or do you want to?
just wait till we have it in front of us, I think. Is that okay? By next month. It's all gonna be retro
Yeah,
anyway.
Allison, you're right.
I'm not pushing
I'll get
forward.
it to you.
Okay.
So under new business, there was appointment of Borough Fire Marshal, Fire Code Official, RES, Resolution 847, 2021. Was this for Gerhardt and Goldenchevsky? Goldenchevsky?
We already have, Ricky Gerhardt's already appointed, so this is for Richard Polish.
Under state inspection.
No,
As-
this is him, not state inspection, because he is the person who has the certifications from the ICC as a fire code official. And,
So we're appointing him as a fire code official, not fire marshal.
and I don't know, Bob, you were talking to him, I think. it's
I don't follow that closely. Yeah, so I'm not sure. So I was sitting on the original meeting. I left because it was over an hour long and they were talking way too much for me. So I don't know if it's fire marshal / fire code official or whether they're gonna split it or what.
Well, they wanted to split the tasks and Ricky did not want to be the lead.
Okay.
Well, so does Rick Olszewski have the investigative training?
He has.
It's two different animals there.
He has whatever the fire marshal certification that you need to do through the ICC, which has it in addition to the fire code official.
So does this mean we're gonna start doing inspections or is he just
It,
for incidents only?
at this time, it is for incidents
Okay.
only. That's all,
So
that.
pretty much nothing's changing, we're just adding one other person.
Yes,
There a motion for the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
There's a second?
One second.
Motion been moved and seconded for appointment of a fire marshal, fire code official, resolution 847, 2021. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes with one negative. General comments of council on items of interest? Oh, I'm sorry, Women's Club.
Yes, okay.
Women's Club.
Yeah, I was about to. The Women's Club has approached me asking permission to do a sandwich sale at the primary election. They would like permission to make the sandwiches the morning of the election upstairs, and then they would go outside once the sandwiches are made to do the social distancing and all that. So they'll be outside the way they did at the general election in November. They had their best sandwich sale ever at the general election in November.
That was because there was more people voting than ever.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, much more visible.
And they were more visible, so, yes. They appreciated the borough's cooperation with
But I
that.
will say that 85% of the sales are all pre-orders.
Yeah.
Those are people taking orders, not just people coming to them.
Right,
Right,
right, but.
Can the women's club live with the same conditions we had on the last time, like location, access, all that stuff?
Yeah, they're basically, the one thing they're asking differently, last time they made the sandwiches at one of the members' houses, they're just asking if they
Oh.
could make them up in the morning. So, and then take them out, go, and then they'll be outside. That's the only difference this time around. I don't have a hard time with it.
You don't have to make them all ahead of time, right? You only have to make like 100 for the first hour.
They just will make them all.
Oh, they
Yeah,
will.
they do it.
They're gonna start at 5 AM and make them all.
Once they go outside, then they're outside.
Yeah.
They won't, they're just gonna make them all.
Okay. Motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize the women's club to do the sandwich sale with making the sandwiches in their meeting room on the second floor on the primary election.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded for women's club fundraiser. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other general comments from council? Unfinished business, new business?
Have we decided taking a position on Acro Labs with their sidewalk?
I think we sent them like a nasty letter,
We did.
and they sort of, did they respond at all?
Well, they responded with the same outrage as before, how dare you do this in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, the question is, do you want to take enforcement to the next level, which is to take it to the court because they violated the condition of their approval, you take it to a notice of violation. I mean, the next step is a notice of violation, and that they have the ability to appeal to the zoning hearing board and ultimately to court. If you want to
How can
take
they
that
appeal to the zoning hearing board for an enforcement on something that's been approved in land development?
Well, because here's how, because it was part of their conditional use, so it has the effect of a zoning ordinance violation. Any zoning ordinance violation can be appealed to the zoning hearing board. The next step after that is the possibility of an appeal to Court of Common Pleas and a land use appeal. If the zoning hearing board were to find that they violated a condition and that they're in violation.
Council got it.
Be cheaper for us to put the sidewalk on.
And leave the property.
No, I want them to come back to the zoning hearing board. I'll attend that meeting if they come.
Yeah.
So I say full speed, big hammer.
Hey, was there
Does the council have any comments?
a date?
Let's use Mjolnir.
Well,
When was the sidewalk supposed to be done?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So- So the pandemic.
That is.
It's both.
Originally, the agreement was.
Yeah.
I was gonna use the crews are working down before.
Yeah.
Plenty of sidewalks have been poured in the last year.
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was due prior to March of last year.
Yes.
The letter that went out, was there like, we want an answer by this date or anything?
We did, yes, and
They answered.
And we're past that.
we're past that, and, in my opinion, we either have to enforce it or it has to keep to it.
Let's enforce it. Yes.
We've got plenty of time.
Right, so what we'll need is, we'll need a motion to begin the enforcement process for notice of violation.
I'll make a motion, we begin the enforcement process with notice of violation of Agro Labs for failure to install sidewalks within the 3-year period granted as a part of the conditional use.
By code.
By code. Motion's been moved, seconded for action against Aqualad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, Allison, you know. work on
Any
that.
other comments?
What's the
Go ahead.
time that they're supposed to be installed? Is it 2 years?
That is
We
right.
I think we gave them 3
I
years.
know, not for them, in general.
It's
0 years. When you open up, you gotta have the sidewalk too.
The referral is a matter of grace.
So,
We don't have
so to
to-
avoid this and avoid the whole escrow thing, why don't we stop the further?
Because when you have a business come in and they go, this is a sidewalk to nowhere, it's gonna cost $60,000, and it's part of my startup fees, it's gonna be hard for me to break even the first year. So when that comes in, someone said, well, that sort of makes sense, but you're gonna have to put them in, and we'll give you 2 years, I think we've given other people.
Right.
Then somebody asked for 3,
Well,
we gave them 3,
let's stay at this 2 years.
yeah.
We deferred for Scotland, who
Right.
ended up putting them in.
Okay.
Exeter.
Not happily either,
Exeter.
not happily.
Exeter Supply did put theirs in, and we negotiated with them
Change the side of the road.
for the side of the road to the side that was being used by the public
People
for
should
walking.
Right.
I think, I forget what we did with,
Todd Michael was deferred.
Right.
And we put in-
Goodwill, I don't think was deferred, but they were allowed to open without the sidewalk being
Yeah, that
installed.
That was because the highway.
HOP.
Right.
Process, they had to go through.
So we've sort of had it, trying to be a reasonable party to a start.
I understand, I'm just trying to think of a way to not have all this.
Well, there's always
nonsense.
gonna be,
Yeah,
Let's
there's
put
always
it
gonna
this
be an
way.
acolyte.
They agreed to those terms.
Or if
for,
they didn't appeal it and they expressed.
I know,
their
that's what I'm
preference.
for the older properties in the borough that are problematic, people are kicking and screaming. We have stuff from where Diane's Pet Center was. And you sent a letter back to them and we haven't heard. Oh, what is that? Is that 8 months?
Been a while.
You have what we are going through with down at where the old hosiery mill was. And we're gonna end up doing it with the property next door that has the mess with, where, Randy's Auto Body. That's gonna be a mess at some point along the way. All those properties, as you retro and try and bring them up to compliance, they're kicking and screaming.
Well, I think really the answer is the escrow. I think that's still worth 2 years, and that I understand, startup costs and things like that. 2 years sounds reasonable to
And you
me.
have to say 2 years from when.
Date of
2 years
opening.
for- Well, either 2 years from the date of opening, or if it's a zoning hearing board decision from the date of the.
So
decision.
zoning hearing board decision is probably better,
Yes.
Because from decision can give them only a year if they're doing any kind of major renovations or anything else that take any amount of time.
So it's probably better to have it 2 years from the zoning hearing board decision.
One more thing for Derek. I have mentioned this before. At the corner of Levan and St. Lawrence Avenue, the northeast corner, Matt Dabrowski lives there. Each year, that sidewalk sinks a little bit more, They got big ravine that's going there. Something's going on down there.
So I'm trying to think of what that's from, because our head wall pipe doesn't run under that.
Right,
It
no.
runs through the street and then in St. Lawrence
Something-
Avenue parallels across.
And the curb is starting to go with it ever so slowly. Well, the major part is happening behind the curb. Something going on there.
The only thing I can think of is the old swale there, because behind the house where the head wall.
Well, that's on the other side of the house.
Well, yeah, so there's that old swale that comes up through there.
Mhm.
If that originated through where that sidewalk was.
Well, if you look at the spillway up at the end,
Yeah,
is it necessarily a straight line to the head wall across the highway? Well, you don't know, but I mean, unless you took that trowel under to the.
I walked that pipe.
What's that?
I walked that pipe.
Yeah.
Don't say that,
It's big enough.
because that's confined space entry and all that stuff.
It's-
Come on.
No, it's not, it's
It's
above
not.
ground.
Oh,
Let's open it open.
It has snakes in it.
Have you been up
but-
the spillway lately?
Yeah, there's about a foot of water or something.
Because I was up, I had my granddaughter last week and there's probably 3 feet down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a nice little pond in the bottom.
So that's on our list of things to do when that snow pile goes away.
The playground was up there. Put your waders on.
with shovels.
With shovels.
Oh, boy.
But
Anything
there's
else?
something's going on down there.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Their motion is to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Thanks so much for all your time.
It's spring. Yeah.